Ladies and gents, welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's talk a bit about the rematch between Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. because it's almost upon us, 2nd of September, this coming Saturday. And it's on Sky. Is it Sky Sports or Sky Box Office? I never buy box office pay-per-view things. I'm Stream Team all the way. But anyway, whatever it is, it's on Sky, and it is it's a rematch that I think is quite intriguing because the first fight was, for the first 3 rounds, Eubank obviously well in the fight, and then he got caught in the corner in the 4th and knocked out, all but knocked out. He claims that an elbow was what did the damage. He had a big sort of knot above his eye, big welt, I don't know what you call it, looked like a golf ball sticking out of his corner of his eye. And yeah, possibly there was an elbow in there. I mean, Liam Smith is crafty. He's a tough guy. He wants to win. I think of all the Smith brothers, he is probably the most spiteful of the lot, and I don't necessarily mean that in a derogatory way. Eubank Jr. Has long sort of fed off the idea that he's got this iron jaw. And that was kind of exposed in the first Smith fight. But I think there are explanations for that. And I think quite simply, Eubank Jr. he probably boiled himself down to a completely unnatural weight and may well have wrecked his body, much in the same way that Roy Jones Jr. did when he went up to fight John Ruiz, and then came back down to fight Tarver and didn't look the same. I mean, I thought he beat Tarver in that first fight. It was a close fight, and he certainly looked vulnerable. And then in the rematch, he got chinned in 2 rounds. But definitely, this idea of putting on bulk and then taking it off and coming down to what very, very quickly as well, coming down very quickly to a weight that's just not suitable or even natural, is extremely dangerous, and it can have long-term, sometimes permanent effects on your body. It diminishes you. I think Eubank Jr. may have already done this, because don't forget that there was that aborted Conor Benn fight, and that was set at 157. Eubank has fought at 168. Coming down to 160 is tough enough. I don't think he made 157, but he did release some sort of photograph or a very brief sort of video of him on the scales weighing 159. It's just too low. It's too low, and I think that this will be a factor in this upcoming fight again. I think he's just wrecked his body. I mean, Liam Smith is 35, but has spent most of his career at 154. So coming up to 160 to him, not a problem. At 35, that may be his natural fighting weight. Eubank Jr. is now 33, and when you get into your 30s, of course, as is well known, it's more difficult to take off weight. You naturally put on weight, and if you look at someone like Thomas Hearns, in his early 20s, 21 years old, he was 6'1", 6'2", weighing 147 with relative ease, and then as he got older, he eventually ended up at cruiserweight and didn't look out of place at cruiserweight. He didn't look like he was carrying necessarily excess weight. You just naturally fill out. So if we look at Liam Smith coming up in weight, I think he's going to be. There's a possibility he spent too much time at 154. Sometimes you get into that rhythm where you just sort of you feel it's the right thing to do, to boil yourself down and to suffer, and you don't realise that maybe you should move up in weight. That's ideally why you need a team around you advising you correctly. So 160 may well be Liam's optimum weight now, and it may be where his power has increased from 154. I mean, prior to the Eubank fight, as we know, he was WBO light middleweight champion, or super feather if you prefer. He's had some good wins, beat Jesse Vargas in 10 over in Madison Square Garden, knocked out Anthony Fowler in 8 rounds. And he's got a few defeats on his record. Magomed Kurbanov won a decision in Russia, which, I thought it was a close fight, that fight. And I didn't really think it was, certainly don't think it's a robbery, But Liam will say, well, I thought I won that fight. Kurbanov at the time, 21-0 undefeated. I mean, it wasn't. It was the cards were close, by the way. Two of them, I think, were 115, 113. Prior to that, of course, he lost to Jaime Munguia, who looked absolutely huge at super welterweight and knocked Liam down in the 6th round, and Liam managed to make it to the end. He's a tough guy, Liam Smith. I mean, the only stoppage defeat on his record is to Canelo, and that was back in 2016. That was a body punch. So there's nothing wrong with Liam's jaw. And by the way, he fought Canelo. He tried to win that fight. And, he was putting it on Canelo at the moment he actually got knocked out. And if you get caught with a great body punch, it's difficult to recover within those 10 seconds. Sometimes you stay on the floor for minutes. So I don't think there's any shame in that. I think he's had a very, very good career. 2 wins over Liam Williams. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. First one, it was competitive. I think Williams might have been ahead on the cards in that first fight. And then in the rematch, it was a majority decision win. And, he's had a good career, and he is a tough, tough man. But in the first fight, if we go back to the first 3 rounds, Eubank did have success. In fact, in the 3rd round, he was sort of threatening to tee off on Liam. And, well, he was teeing off on Liam for some I suppose there was a little 30-second period towards the end of the 3rd where, excuse me, where he was catching Liam. And Eubank loves his uppercuts. If you let him do what he can do, Chris Eubank Jr. can be effective. He hasn't got one-punch power, but neither has Liam Williams. And I think with Eubank was irate at being stopped. It should have been stopped. It was absolutely the correct decision by the referee, but Eubank has been saying, well, I'm a warrior, this is what we sign up for, I should be allowed to be carried out unconscious, and okay, you've got the Warriors, the Warriors code, this is the Warriors mentality, the Warriors code is what his father coined boxing, you have to be prepared to be knocked flat. And in fact, during the, what do they call it, gloves, is it called the gloves are off, where they have a little across the table meeting, Eubank did most of the talking. Liam seemed happy to let him do so, and Eubank said, well, when I looked at the end of that fight, I thought, I'll take that. Why will I take that? Because I didn't quit, I wasn't retired by my corner. He's saying basically I went out on my shield. Okay, fair enough. If you've got that mentality, that's a good thing to have. But the question is, can you do 12 rounds at that weight? And I have to say, I don't think he can. Not with the energy needed to hold off Liam Smith. Yes, he's going to have success, Eubank Jr., when he's fresh. He's going to put it on Liam. I think Liam, generally speaking, will control the range. Eubank will come forward. Liam will be looking to counterpunch. Eubank will be the one trying to put the pressure on, trying to position himself to where he can unload in bursts, which is what Eubank does. He doesn't fight consistently for 3 rounds. He fights in bursts. He's also no longer with Roy Jones Jr., which, to be honest with you, I don't think is a bad thing, because I never ever bought into the idea of Chris Eubank Jr. and Roy Jones being a good matchup in terms of trainer and fighter. Who is he with now? I did hear he was looking at going with Bomac. He spent time in America and was keen on teaming up with Terence Crawford's team. I don't know. With Eubank, Liam Smith said something. He said, look, Eubank never listens anyway. He's too arrogant to listen. Ultimately, he does his thing. And I think there is, historically anyway, there's been some truth in that. Absolutely. But I certainly never bought into the idea of Roy Jones Jr. training him. I never saw any improvements in Eubank's game. A couple of people have mentioned a few nuances, but I don't really think there was any change. If anything, he may have gone backwards under Roy Jones Jr. Because a good trainer will take someone's natural style, natural abilities and natural talents and hone them and string them together correctly, and have the guy, using the right punches at the right time and possibly, you know, working on how to sort of join the dots, so to speak, of a style. Because you can have lots of tools, but putting them together is often the art, and knowing when to put them together at what point in a fight. And also, you know, I don't think in terms of Eubank's stamina in the past, there's been an issue. But I do wonder at 160 whether he's, because he is a gym rat, he trains all the time, whether he's let his body recover. If his body is going to fully recover at 33, making 160, I got a lot of doubts. To be honest with you. Anyway, who do I think will win? I see, again, just to repeat, I see Eubank trying to put the pressure on, Liam counter punching. Although Liam is a box fighter, he will put his own pressure on when he sees the opportunity. But he's quite happy to fight a back foot game. He won't run. He's quite happy to counter. He'll probably try and control the range, and I think for the most part he'll succeed. Eubank, he won't need to find Eubank. Eubank will come at him. Well, on the occasions when Eubank isn't working, that's probably when Liam is going to move forwards and land his own punches. When Eubank's coming forward, Liam will probably rely more on the back foot game. I see Liam winning the battle of the jabs for the most part. I think after 6 rounds, the fight will probably be relatively even, maybe 3 rounds each, something like that. But I see Eubank's stamina probably diminishing, and his output, which is never that great anyway. I mean, he fights in bursts. He'll fire huge amounts of punches for maybe a minute of a round or 30 seconds, and then the rest of the time he might jab a bit, he might move a bit, he might, he'll try and put pressure on without firing that many punches. I see Liam taking over probably in the middle rounds, maybe around 7 or 8, something like that. And eventually, I think he will be getting to Eubank, landing punches, and I see him probably, it's going to either be a points win for Liam Smith or possibly a late stoppage in about 10 rounds, 10, 11, 12. I'm undecided really as to whether it'll be a late stoppage or points. I'm going to go for a points win for Liam Smith, and a convincing one. It won't be controversial. I think he'll win sort of 116, 112, something like that, over Chris. And Chris by the end will be looking ragged and will be looking absolutely knackered. It's possible Liam could stop him late, but given the 2 choices, I will pick Liam on points, which is what I picked for the first fight. I mean, no, a lot of us were surprised that Eubank got done in 4. I do know someone who picked Liam Smith to win in 4 rounds in that first fight, which was kind of amazing. Andy, his name is Andy Burley. Well done, Andy. I wonder what he's picking for this fight. But I'm going for Liam Smith on points, with a little caveat, possibly a late stoppage. Anyway, what do you think? What's your prediction? Comments below as usual. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and of course hit the like button. I appreciate your time as always. Looking forward to reading your comments, and bye for now.